I walked into that executive boardroom carrying the biggest win of my career. 11 months of grinding negotiations, countless flights to Tampa, long days dealing with Southcom's procurement officers, the kind of men who could smell weakness from across the room. And now, the $850 million defense contract was finally locked down. Handshakes. Congratulations. For the first time in months, I felt like I might actually sleep through the night. My name is Nathan Morrison, though most people call me Tank. I am 52 years old, and I have spent 22 years in defense contracting. Before that, I served 12 years in the Marines, with 2 tours in Iraq and 1 in Afghanistan. And the truth is, that military background is exactly what made this whole mess possible. I was still riding the high from closing the biggest deal Ironworks Defense Corporation had landed in 7 years when everything changed. Andrew Hutchinson, our COO, sat behind that mahogany desk like he was reviewing lunch options instead of a man's future. Then, without warning, he flicked his wrist and sent an envelope sliding across the table. It stopped right in front of me with a hollow slap that cut through the room. "Effective immediately," he said, his voice flat as roadkill. "You're being reassigned." The words hit like incoming mortar fire. I kept my face still. 12 years in the Marines teaches you how to control a reaction. But inside, my mind was already doing damage assessment. This was not protocol. You do not demote the man who just brought in close to $1 billion. You do not gut the one person who just delivered the mission. "Executive assistant," Andrew added, still not looking me in the eye. "Compensation adjusted accordingly." Executive assistant. I had been at Ironworks for 22 years. I started as a junior contract specialist right after leaving the Marines. I worked my way up to senior vice president of global defense acquisitions. I knew every regulation, every procurement loophole, every relationship that mattered in this business. Last week's victory was not luck. It was the result of understanding how military procurement actually works, and that is not something you learn from a business school textbook. I opened the envelope with steady hands. The letter inside was surgical, efficient, my title stripped, my salary gutted, my authority transferred. But one detail made my gut tighten hard. The date at the bottom. The letter had been signed 1 week earlier, before the Southcom deal was even finalized. That was the moment I knew this was not a reaction. It was a plan. In the Corps, we called that a flanking maneuver. While I was focused on the objective, somebody had moved into position behind me. That was my mistake. I assumed my allies were holding their ground. The drive home that evening felt longer than usual. I kept thinking about Sarah, my wife of 26 years. Her heart surgery was scheduled for next month. The cardiologist had made it clear that this was no longer optional. She needed bypass surgery. Total cost, $45,000. Insurance would cover 80%, which still left us needing $9,000 up front, plus $3,000 a month for 12 months. Then there was our daughter Emma, 19 years old, halfway through her 2nd year at West Point. The academy covered tuition, but her living expenses and prep costs still ran $1,000 a month. And then my father, Walt Morrison, Korean War veteran, a man who served this country and now sat in a memory care facility because his mind was slipping away from him one piece at a time. $4,800 a month for decent care, and he had earned every penny of it. My new salary as an executive assistant was $4,800 a month. I pulled into the driveway and just sat there with both hands on the wheel, doing the math. The mortgage alone was $3,400. Add Sarah's medical payments, Emma's expenses, Dad's care facility. We were staring at $12,800 in monthly obligations against a $4,800 paycheck. We had maybe $12,000 in savings, maybe 8 to 10 weeks before everything started collapsing. I had survived firefights in Fallujah, but corporate warfare, really, might have been the thing that finished me. When I walked into the kitchen, the bills were spread across the counter where Sarah had organized them by due date. The cardiac surgery payment plan sat on top, those cold numbers staring back at me like a sentence. Under that was Emma's West Point expense sheet. At the bottom, the statement from Dad's memory care facility. Sarah looked up from her laptop. She had been researching heart surgeons. The stress around her eyes had deepened over the past few months, but she still had that same quiet strength that made me fall for her 28 years ago. "How did the recognition meeting go?" she asked. I could not tell her. Not then. Not when she was 3 weeks away from heart surgery. Not when Emma was thriving at the academy and making us proud. Not when Dad needed care that only money could provide. Just some reorganization stuff, I said. Nothing major. And even now, I can tell you that lying to your wife while she is preparing for heart surgery is about as low as a man can sink. But I also knew I had to buy time. I had to figure something out before our savings bled dry and the whole house of cards came down on top of us. That night, I did not sleep. I lay there in the dark, listening to Sarah breathe beside me, and one name kept coming back to me. Ryan Hutchinson, Andrew's son, 27 years old, Stanford MBA. Sharp kid, no doubt, but he did not understand the military side of defense contracting. I had spent 3 years mentoring him, teaching him how procurement really works, showing him why relationships matter more than spreadsheets, explaining how to read between the lines when dealing with military brass. Andrew wanted his son fast-tracked. He needed my position opened up. Ryan cost them $180,000 a year, but he was nowhere near producing what I produced. The math was simple: corporate nepotism. Sacrifice the veteran, advance the legacy. The next morning, I walked onto the executive floor, and it felt like entering hostile territory. The first thing I noticed was the blank space on my office door. My nameplate was gone, just a clean rectangle where Nathan Morrison, Senior Vice President, Global Defense Acquisitions, had been for the past 6 years. Inside the office, they had already cleared out my personal files. My access badge no longer opened the storage cabinets I had organized over the years. Even my company email was dead. When I tried to log in, the system gave me 4 words that told me exactly what they thought of 22 years of service. Account not recognized. Like a life's work could be erased with one mouse click. I was moving my belongings into a cubicle on the 2nd floor when I heard voices coming from the main conference room. Through the glass wall, I could see a presentation underway, and the slide deck looked familiar. Too familiar. It was my work, the strategy I had built for the Southcom contract. But something was wrong. Where the slide used to say Lead Negotiator Nathan Morrison, it now read Director of Strategic Partnerships Ryan Hutchinson. My photo had been cropped out. Ryan's headshot had been dropped in like it had always belonged there. He was standing in front of the board presenting my strategy like he had created it. I stood there and watched him. Ryan Hutchinson, the same kid I had taken under my wing 3 years earlier when he arrived fresh from Stanford with an MBA and absolutely no understanding of how military procurement really works. He was smart, sure, but smart only gets you so far in this business. I had spent hours teaching him the details, why specific clauses matter, how to read military brass, what procurement officers actually want to hear. I remembered him shadowing me during the first Southcom meetings, taking notes like his life depended on it. I taught him how one misplaced comma in a military contract could cost millions. I taught him that relationships with procurement officers take years to build. I taught him why the military trusts people who have actually served overseas. And as I watched him stand there using my playbook, something clicked. This was not just politics. This was personal. When the meeting ended, Ryan caught my eye through the glass. He walked over wearing a smile that never reached his eyes. "I'll do my best," he said, pausing just long enough for the words to hit. "To build on your foundation work, Tank. Foundation work. 22 years of expertise reduced to foundation work. You taught me well," he added, then walked off with the stride of a man who thinks he has earned something he stole. That afternoon, while I was cleaning out the last of my desk, a folder slipped from the stack. A memo was wedged inside, printed so faintly it looked like it was never meant to be noticed. At first glance, it seemed like ordinary internal correspondence, but one line froze me cold. Strategic Objective Transition, NM out by Q2. The letters were clear, deliberate, and dated 5 months earlier. 5 months. That means this was never about one bad quarter. It was never about a performance issue. It was never some sudden reaction after the Southcom close. They had been planning to remove me long before I made the final push on negotiations. I had been set up from the beginning. In the Marines, we were taught to analyze intelligence failures. This one was textbook. I had been so focused on external threats, on beating competitors for the contract, that I completely missed the inside job. While I was building trust with Southcom procurement officers, Andrew and Ryan were building the case to bury me. That evening hit harder than the first. I sat at the kitchen table with the bills in front of me again, doing the same numbers over and over, as if repetition might somehow change the outcome. Sarah's heart surgery payments were $3,000 a month. Emma's West Point expenses were $1,000 a month. Dad's memory care facility cost $4,800 a month. The mortgage was $3,400 a month. And on top of that, we still needed to set aside $600 a month just to build toward the $9,000 up front for Sarah's surgery. Total obligations, $12,800 a month. My new salary, $4,800 a month. The gap was $8,000 every single month. With $12,000 in savings, we had maybe 8 weeks before everything started falling apart. And I will tell you something honest. I had been in combat zones. I had watched good Marines die. I had made life and death calls under fire. But sitting at that kitchen table, staring at those bills, I felt more helpless than I ever did in a firefight. At least in combat, you can shoot back. My phone buzzed around 9:30 that evening. The caller ID showed a Washington, D.C. number I did not recognize. Under normal circumstances, I probably would have let it ring. Too many scam calls these days. But something in me said, pick it up. Mr. Morrison, this is Daniel Brooks. I am a contract attorney specializing in defense agreements. I have been reviewing the Ironworks Southcom deal. That got my attention fast. My pulse kicked up. What about it? Did you draft Clause 84C in the original contract? For a second I had to think. There were so many clauses, so many revisions, so many late-night edits made under pressure. Then it came back. Yes, I said, I did. Why? What he said next changed everything. Then you need to hear this. That clause is ironclad, Mr. Morrison. Unambiguous. If Southcom's designated military liaison is reassigned, they have every right to void the contract and demand full repayment with double damages for breach of designated person requirements. I grabbed a pen immediately. Daniel kept going, calm and precise, the way only lawyers and men with leverage talk. It is not just enforceable, it is bulletproof. No court in any jurisdiction would dispute its validity. Southcom contracts include enhanced penalties for liaison breaches because of national security implications. Industry standard is a 2x multiplier when designated person requirements are violated. That stopped me cold. Does Ironworks know this? I asked. They should have flagged it during legal review, he said. But here is the thing. Southcom specifically requested you for this contract. They wanted someone with actual military experience and security clearance, not just business credentials. They reached out to me the moment they learned you had been reassigned. And right there, after days of feeling erased, invisible, and politically buried, I felt something shift. Suddenly, I was not the discarded man in a second-floor cubicle anymore. I was the one variable they could not replace. They want to meet with you directly, Daniel said. They are questioning Ironworks' integrity. Department of Defense regulations require veteran-led oversight on contracts this size. Without your clearance and your background, they are already having second thoughts about the entire arrangement. When the call ended, I sat there staring at the notes in front of me. For the first time since Andrew Hutchinson slid that envelope across the table, I did not feel powerless. That clause was not just legal language, it was leverage. And leverage, in any battlefield, is power. That night I pulled out my old leather portfolio from my Marine days. I had carried that thing through deployments, airports, negotiations, boardrooms, hotel lobbies, every place where pressure and consequences met. The cover was worn and scarred. Inside were boarding passes, old receipts, handwritten notes, fragments of years spent building a career, one relationship at a time. I was looking for something specific, my notes from the Miami negotiations 8 months earlier. And there it was, in my own handwriting, Clause 84C. Any reassignment of the designated military liaison shall grant the client full right to void the contract and demand restitution of $850 million plus double damages totaling $1.7 billion for breach of designated person requirements. The moment I read it, I remembered exactly how it happened. During a break in the Miami meetings, the Southcom procurement officer had pulled me aside and said, "We have been burned before. We need your name on this. Morrison, not just the company's. Too many contractors switch people the second the signature is dry." This clause protects both of us. So I wrote it. That was not sabotage. That was standard practice in military procurement. Really, when you are talking about billion-dollar weapons systems, continuity matters. You want the man who negotiated the agreement to be the man who oversees delivery. You want the person with 22 years of relationships, protocol knowledge, and operational understanding. What you do not want is a business school graduate pretending that spreadsheets can replace field credibility. Ironworks thought they could swap me out and nobody would notice. Classic mistake. They underestimated the capability of the person they were trying to erase. The next morning, I sat down and composed the most important email of my career. It had to be exact. No emotion, no bitterness, no accusation, just facts, delivered with the precision of a strike package. For your awareness, Ironworks has reassigned operational authority away from me as of Friday. Please see Clause 84C of the executed agreement regarding your rights if designated oversight is altered. I remain available to answer questions about procurement protocols and Department of Defense compliance requirements. That was it. Short. Clean. Devastating. My finger hovered over the send button for a long moment. In that single click sat the weight of $850 million. Andrew's quarterly projections, Ryan's stolen promotion, and the threat of $1.7 billion in consequences. I thought about Andrew's dead-eyed expression when he slid that envelope toward me. I thought about Ryan standing in front of the board presenting my work like it belonged to him. Their arrogance had convinced them I was powerless, but the truth is, power often hides in silence until the exact moment it chooses to speak. I clicked send. The response came faster than I expected. 8 minutes later, my phone started buzzing with notifications. Southcom's procurement system had flagged the contract for immediate review. All transactions were frozen, pending investigation. Within the hour, I could hear the panic building upstairs. Raised voices, rapid footsteps, somebody shouting about why procurement was showing red alerts, someone else demanding to know who had suspended the Southcom orders. I stayed in my cubicle and kept my face blank. Just another executive assistant doing paperwork. By lunchtime, the storm had reached full force. Through the glass walls of the main conference room, I could see Andrew Hutchinson slam his fist so hard on the table the windows shook. How the hell did Clause 84C make it into the contract? His voice carried down the hall. All the calm he had worn the day before was gone. The man who measured people in spreadsheet cells was now sweating through a tailored suit. Ryan was trying to defend himself, but I could see panic eating through his confidence. "This is not my fault," he kept saying. "Morrison wrote that clause. Why should I be punished for his oversight?" His oversight. 22 years of experience building safeguards into military agreements, and this kid called it an oversight. Then came the message that stopped the room cold. Phones buzzed almost at once as Southcom's legal department issued its formal ultimatum. Andrew read it out loud, and for the first time, I heard real fear in his voice. Effective. Immediately. Ironworks must restore Nathan Morrison to his designated role as military liaison, or Southcom will exercise its right to void the contract and demand repayment of $850 million plus double damages totaling $1.7 billion for breach of designated person. Requirements under Department of Defense Regulation 48 CFR 252. The room went dead silent. You could hear the air conditioning, papers shifting. Somebody breathing too fast. One board member actually gasped. Another dropped his pen. Ryan's face collapsed in on itself. All that confidence from the day before dissolved into pure panic. I had seen that look before, on young Marines during their first taste of live fire. Andrew rubbed his temples, and I could see the control draining out of him. For years, he had been the man who ended careers with a signature. Now numbers had become the weapon pointed back at him. And then my phone rang. Unknown number again, but the area code was familiar. Southern California, the home turf of half the major defense contractors in the country. Mr. Morrison, this is Colonel Richards from Fortress Strategic Solutions. That name landed hard. Fortress was Ironworks' biggest competitor, the company Andrew always dismissed as second-tier competition, the kind of rival he talked about with lazy arrogance because he never believed they could outmaneuver him. "We have been following the situation with Southcom," Colonel Richards said. "We would like to discuss an opportunity with you." Chief Military Liaison position, Defense Contracts Division. Compensation would be $280,000 base plus an equity stake worth $650,000. Signing bonus of $125,000. Full authority to build your own team. I leaned back in that cubicle chair and looked through the glass at the chaos upstairs. For months, Ironworks had treated me like a ghost. Now the company Ironworks feared most was offering not just restoration, but elevation. We believe in recognizing talent, Mr. Morrison, Colonel Richards continued. And we understand that military procurement requires people who have actually served. Someone who understands security clearance requirements and veteran oversight protocols. When was the last time anyone at Ironworks had said anything remotely like that? I would be interested in hearing more, I told him. We scheduled the meeting for the following morning. But even before I set the phone down, another email came in. This one from Southcom itself. Mr. Morrison, we have made our position clear to Ironworks leadership. However, let us also be clear with you. We will not proceed with this agreement under any circumstances unless your name is attached as the designated liaison. Department of Defense regulations require veteran-led oversight on defense contracts exceeding $500 million. This is non-negotiable. Your security clearance, combat experience, and 22-year track record in military procurement make you irreplaceable for this contract. Any attempt to substitute non-veteran personnel violates federal procurement guidelines. I read it once, then again, then a third time, because after everything Ironworks had done to make me feel disposable, Southcom had just confirmed the opposite in writing. To them, I was not some employee caught in politics. I was not replaceable. I was not background. I was the contract itself. And for the first time since this whole thing started, I understood exactly what that meant. I had a choice, a real one. I was no longer the man waiting to be saved. I was the strategic asset both sides needed, the one person clients and competitors were suddenly willing to fight over. And where I stood next would not be decided by Andrew Hutchinson or Ryan Hutchinson, or a boardroom full of men who thought service could be swapped out for pedigree. That decision belonged to me. The meeting with Fortress Strategic Solutions was set for the next morning. I barely slept that night. But this time, it was not fear keeping me awake. It was clarity. The meeting with Fortress Strategic Solutions was scheduled for the next morning. I drove to their headquarters in San Diego, about 45 minutes from Ironworks, but it felt like crossing into a different world. Ironworks was all glass and chrome, the kind of place that tried too hard to look powerful. Fortress was different. Their lobby had photos of actual military hardware they had built. Ships, aircraft, weapon systems, real equipment, the kind that keeps American soldiers alive. Colonel Richards turned out to be exactly what you would expect from a man who had spent 32 years in the Army before stepping into the private sector. Straight shooter. No corporate theater. No buzzwords. No fake polish. Just facts. We have been watching Ironworks fumble this for months, he said. Southcom specifically requested someone with a military background for this contract, yet they tried to replace you with a business school kid who does not know a destroyer from a dinghy. Then he slid a contract across the table. Not an envelope this time. A real folder. Proper terms, clear numbers, no tricks. Chief Military Liaison, he said. Base salary of $280,000, plus an equity stake worth $650,000 at current valuation. A signing bonus of $125,000. And then he gave me the part that mattered just as much as the money. You build your own team. Hire who you want. Fire who you want. Your operation to run. I looked down at the numbers. Nearly 60 times my current executive assistant salary. Premium health insurance that would cover Sarah's surgery without a fight. More than enough to keep Emma's West Point expenses handled. More than enough to move Dad into the best memory care facility we could find. But the truth is, it was not only about money. Not really. It was about something I had not felt in months. Respect. For the first time in a long time, someone was speaking to me like 22 years of service actually meant something. Then Colonel Richards added one more thing. There is one condition. Southcom has made it clear they will only work with you. The contract moves with you or it does not move at all. Federal procurement guidelines back them up on this. Veteran oversight is mandatory for defense contracts this size. That was the final piece. That same afternoon, I signed with Fortress. The paperwork took 90 minutes. But when I walked out of that building, I felt lighter than I had in months. The same $850 million defense contract was now moving with me, and this time my name was permanently attached to it. The headlines hit the wires within hours. Fortress Strategic Solutions secures historic $850 million defense contract. Ironworks faces $1.7 billion repayment exposure after losing key executive and compliance violation. Every major business outlet picked it up. Bloomberg, Reuters, Financial Times. And with every headline, my name appeared not as the victim, not as the man who got pushed aside, but as the architect of Fortress's win. I watched the fallout unfold in real time. Ironworks stock dropped 18% in after-hours trading. Investors demanded answers over Department of Defense compliance failures. The board called an emergency meeting. Andrew Hutchinson's resignation came through on Friday afternoon. No speech, no parade, no polished farewell, just a cold internal memo saying he was pursuing other opportunities. The same man who had dismissed me with a single envelope was now disappearing behind corporate language. Ryan Hutchinson fell even faster. By Monday morning, his name had been stripped from the company website. His LinkedIn profile went dark. All those presentations where he had claimed my work as his own were suddenly gone, wiped away like they had never existed. The same digital eraser they used on me had turned on him. I did not celebrate. I did not gloat. I got to work. On my first day at Fortress, I called an all-hands meeting for the Defense Contracts Division. Around 35 people showed up. Former military, civilian contractors, mostly gray hair in the room. Men and women who understood that experience matters in this business, and that trust is not something you fake with a resume. We are building something different here, I told them. A place where 22 years of service actually means something, where your word is your bond, where loyalty goes both ways. I looked around the room and held eye contact with every person there. In the Marines, we had a code. Never leave a man behind. That is how we are going to operate here. Nobody gets thrown away because it is convenient for someone working a spreadsheet. The room did not erupt. That is not how professionals respond. But I saw the nods. Quiet. Solid. The kind that tell you the message landed exactly where it needed to. These were not kids fresh out of business school trying to climb a ladder over somebody else's back. These were professionals. People who had been burned before. People who were tired of being treated like disposable assets. Within 3 weeks, I had hired away 4 of Ironworks' best people. People who had already started looking for exits the moment they saw how the company treated me. In this industry, word travels fast. People talk. And before long, everyone knew that Fortress was the place you went if you wanted to be valued for what you actually brought to the table. The following month, Southcom's procurement team came to visit our offices. The lead officer, Commander Peterson, was the same man who had insisted on my involvement from the beginning. "This is how it should work," he said while reviewing our timeline. "Military professionals working with people who understand Department of Defense requirements, not some corporate climber trying to figure out the difference between a frigate and a submarine." 4 months later, we had signed 3 additional contracts with Southcom, worth another $520 million combined. Fortress stock had tripled. My equity stake was suddenly worth more than $1.9 million. But even that was not the real victory. The real victory was what happened at home. When Emma called to say she had made the dean's list at West Point, I could just be proud. I did not have to sit there hiding panic over money while pretending everything was fine. When Sarah's heart surgery went perfectly, and the surgeon told us she would be better than new, we were able to have the celebration dinner we had talked about for years. That $9,000 upfront cost did not even register as a threat anymore. And Dad, we moved him into a better memory care facility, one with a full wing for veterans. Better food, better activities, staff who actually understood what men like him had carried home from war. He seemed sharper there, more present. Sometimes I sat with him on the porch, and he told me stories about Korea that I had never heard before. One afternoon, he looked at me and said, "You did good, son. Sometimes a man has to walk away from something broken to build something that works." That stayed with me, because looking back, I realized Andrew and Ryan Hutchinson did me a favor, even if they never meant to. They forced me out of a company that had stopped valuing loyalty, experience, and integrity. They shoved me toward a place where character still mattered more than quarterly optics. The defense industry is full of companies chasing profit while forgetting the people who actually build the systems that keep soldiers safe. But places like Fortress still exist. Places where values mean something. Places where a handshake still carries weight. Places where 22 years of service opens doors instead of painting a target on your back. Last week, I got a LinkedIn message from Ryan. He is working at some consulting firm now, probably making half of what he thought his future was supposed to look like. The message was short. Congrats on the Fortress success. Hope we can work together again someday. I deleted it without replying. Some bridges, once burned, should stay that way. These days, I drive to work knowing that what I do matters. The contracts I negotiate help keep our soldiers safe. The relationships I build help make sure the military gets the equipment it needs. And the team I built understands something that too many companies forget. Mission comes first, always. Turns out those old Marine habits did save my civilian career after all. Because in the Corps, we learned something that never stops being true. Honor is not just a word. It is what you do when nobody is watching. If this story hit you where it counts, leave your thoughts in the comments. Drop a like, subscribe, and stay with us for more stories where character, pressure, and consequences collide.